Hello, it's me again. This week we're trying something new, because it's always good to challenge yourself and do something new, right? So this week I'm doing book recommendations, 3 to be exact. Now this is a two-way street. I've got some books that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but I want to know what you've recently enjoyed too. So leave a comment and recommend me some books, please, if you want to. If it doesn't take too much of your time. You never know, maybe I'll like your recommendation so much that I'll put it in a future video to be viewed by literally tens of people. Just before we get started properly, I should point out that there will be no spoilers in this video. I'm not giving away any endings or plot twists, and pretty much all that I'm going to say you could find out just by reading the blurbs anyway. So fear not. The first book I am recommending is The Other Typist by Suzanne Rindell. Try not to cover the person's name. There you go. It's set in 1924 in New York City at the height of Prohibition. We hear the story through the voice of Rose Baker, who works as a typist in a police station, recording the confessions of killers and other criminals. Pretty soon, a new typist called Odalie turns up and just charms the socks off everyone. She's a little bit older than Rose and definitely more glamorous, and so Rose finds herself really desperately wanting to be liked by her. And after a while, that's what happens. Odalie lets Rose into her glamorous world, and they start going to speakeasies and parties together, and Rose starts to learn more about Odalie. And that's probably where I should stop talking about the plot if I want to stick to the no spoiler thing. Let's just say that there's perhaps more to Odalie than meets the eye. It's one of those books that as soon as you finish it, you want to go and find somebody else who's read it so that you can share opinions on it. And if you can't find anybody who has read it, then you want to force somebody to read the book so that you can share opinions. Book 2 is The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North, which I think is a pen name for Catherine Webb. This one I enjoyed so much that I could quite happily have read the first 50 or 100 lives of Harry August, and I would still have wanted more. So to set the scene, Harry is born on New Year's Day in 1919, lives a fairly unremarkable life, and then dies in 1989. What's interesting is Harry is then born again on New Year's Day in 1919 with all the memories of his previous life intact. Dun dun dun! As the blurb tells us, no matter what he does or the decisions he makes, every time Harry dies he always returns to where he began, a child with all the knowledge of a life lived a dozen times before. As far as hooks go, that's a pretty good one. I mean, I want to stop filming and read it again now. But the story is so much bigger and more complex than just being about a man who lives over and over again. And again, it's difficult to go into details without spoiling it for you, but it turns out that Harry is not alone. And there are others that live again and again and again, spread all through human history. One of the quotes on the back of the book says it's an astonishing reinvention of the time travel narrative. And that's such a perfect description. I really like time travel books. The third book that I'm recommending today is a time travel book. But you don't have to be a time travel enthusiast to enjoy Harry August, because it's not time travel in the traditional sense. Basically, you should read this book immediately. I implore you to read this book. I hope you like it after all that gushing. Third and final book for today is Doomsday Book by Connie Willis, which I have on Kindle, so hopefully I'm going to put some sort of picture over here of the actual book. I think it's the first in a series of 4 books. It's at least a series of 2 because I'm reading the second one at the moment. And as I mentioned, it's a time travel series in the more traditional sense of time travel. In mid-21st century Oxford, historians can travel back in time to study different periods of history. In Doomsday Book, we follow student Kivrin as she travels to the 14th century. Yeah, it's not the first place I'd go to if I could time travel. Probably not even top 10. But Connie Willis somehow makes it interesting. I don't know how she did that. I suspect black magic at work. Anyway, if you do read it and you like it, or even if you're not quite sure, then give the second one in the series a go. That one is called To Say Nothing of the Dog, and so far I'm enjoying it even more than the first one. I think for 2 reasons. One, because it's set in the Victorian era, which is a much more pleasant time to visit than the 14th century. And 2, because we don't just follow one person time traveling. Or rather we do, we follow a guy called Ned Henry, but he's there with somebody else from the 21st century so they can kind of work together. And that makes me feel a lot happier. I like that Ned has a little time travel buddy. Well, those are my recommendations. I will leave details of each of them in the description in case I jabbered through them too quickly and you missed any of them. Don't forget that if you read something recently that you really enjoyed, then tell me in a comment. For now though, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good week and I will see you again next Wednesday. Bye bye!